Simphiwe is one of South Africa's most soulful singers who is renowned around the world and adored for her impressive vocal prowess. She is an artist who employs a true cultural and African identity in her art form. Established in 2004 with the release of her debut album, Zandisile, Simphiwe has firmly planted a place in the heart of South Africa's entertainment industry. To date, Simphiwe brand is likened to the late legendary artists such as Miriam Makeba and Busi Mhlongo. She is currently on a debut US tour, having been among the world's greatest artists at the Essence Music Festival in New Orleans. Simphiwe, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we start from where the music began. I know that you started singing when you were in church.
No. I just sang in church. I mean, I grew up in a community, you know, where almost everything had a soundtrack to it. So I really wouldn't say that I only found music in church. You know, I grew up in a very musical community. You know, my mom was a Christian. Yes.
Right.
You know, and we then with her got to go to church, and I did sing in church. I was one of the leaders in praise and worship in my church. Yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been in the music business, you know, as a recording artist and all that?
Oh wow, it will be 10 years next year.
Okay,
so.
That's fine. And you have 3 albums to date: Zandisile, One Love Movement on Bantu Biko Street, and your latest Culture Noir. Can you tell us about those albums?
What do you want to know about them?
Okay, so when did Zandisile drop, and how well did it do?
Oh, okay. Zandisile was my debut album. It came out in 2004, and it did much better than I had hoped for.
Okay, so you were kind of received by the South African audience.
I was embraced by the South African audience. Even saying that is putting it mildly.
All right.
You know, I remember the next year I had a show at the Cape Town International Jazz Festival. You know, and I remember there being commotion outside, and I only learned later that there were so many other people who wanted to push through to come to my show.
Right.
That I had to have a second show that same evening, which was hadn't been done since Miriam Makeba.
Right.
So, for me, all of those things were a shock because I hadn't expected that.
You mentioned Miriam Makeba,
reception.
and it's funny that you've been likened to her, and obviously I see even your demeanor and your vocals. Busi Mhlongo, others have even likened you to Billie Holiday, an American jazz singer. What was your inspiration, and what's the genre of music that you perform?
I'm an old soul, you know, and I really love those names that you have mentioned, and so many more, like Lena Horn, you mentioned Busi Mhlongo, Letambulu from my country, Kajanine, you know. So, for me, that is the kind of sound that came easily to me, you know, that old school sound. Yeah, it spoke to me. I mean, I'm not really a fashionable person.
Right. Well, that's not
I don't
true.
go with the trends. That's what I mean.
I see what you mean.
I don't go with the trends. I just do my own thing.
Okay, so your inspiration obviously is part of all those people that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, others have actually said that you sing the blues for those that understand what you're singing, the content of your lyrics. Would that be true? What is your music about? Because I know you sing in Xhosa and in Zulu as well sometimes.
Well, I mean, it is quite difficult to box my music, and I've been asked many times to define the genre that my music would fit into.
Right.
And that is almost impossible because I'm a child of the world, you know.
You feed off the energy.
Yes. Whatever is beautiful, you know, because music is about beauty ultimately, you know, inspires me. And so I call my music, soul music, not because it's of a genre, because it's music that feeds your soul. Whether it's in English, in Xhosa or Swahili, it still feeds.
You sold
the
out in
listener.
Cousins, and I think you've also topped the charts in Europe and also in Germany. And of course, you'll be singing in your native language. How do people connect with your music? Is it a spiritual thing?
Music is its own language.
Right.
Music is its own language, and the soul responds to that.
Right.
To that language. I've had people in my shows, crying and coming to tell me how much the music touched them, and they couldn't understand a word of what I was saying, of what I was singing, So, and that just, confirms that music is its own language.
And they call you the queen of cool. This is one statement I've always seen, and obviously meeting you, I see what they mean. You studied IT at the Wits
College, yeah.
Technical in Johannesburg, and then you also majored in graphics design, I think?
No, I didn't major in graphic design. I studied IT, and then when it came to getting a job, when I was offered one as a programmer, I could not accept because it would not feed my creative brain, and I felt a part of me would die, to be honest with you. I mean, I think numbers are creative, but I'm just not that kind of creative, So I asked the same people that if they ever had an opening for a graphic designer, web developer, they should call me, which they did. So I really learned graphic design on the job. But web development was easy because it's still programming, you see. So.
Okay. Now, this is your first United States tour. You've never been to the States, you've never performed, but obviously 2 weeks ago you were performing. You were amongst many, many artists, including Beyonce, Jill Scott, and the likes of them that performed at the Jazz Festival in New Orleans, the Essence Music Festival. What was this experience and to be amongst those names?
I mean, I was on a tiny little stage
Right.
there, and it was for me quite an honor, firstly, to be invited to the show. And from my knowledge, I'm the first one from my country to be invited to the show.
To the show, that's
And I did everything I could to make sure that I would make it and honor that agreement to come to the show. And thus came about that I would be coming to America to perform for the first time ever. Of all of my travels have not brought me onto to any American stage. So this would be my first time. So I was like, okay, let's make the most of this. This is a big moment. How do we make it even bigger? So. With a few friends, I've been helped a lot by a lot of people to get here, from home. I come from my home country with blessings, and support. My government has supported me, arts and culture has supported me. The province I come from, Gauteng province, has supported me. Our airline has supported me, South African Airways, So I'm coming with all of these hopes
blessings
and the blessings from my people, to come and represent them here. And to represent myself.
You also did a live recording with a 27-piece orchestra, and that sound and the elegance that you portrayed on stage was magnificent. How was that? Can you tell us, and how did you put it together? Because normally you play with a 5-member band, and that's it. Now when you have those professional musicians with books and notes and all those...
I leave the mathematics to them.
Right.
As long as whatever is coming out is exactly what I wanted to come out.
So did you have an input of how you wanted the sound to come out? Do you normally
my music,
take charge?
How I write, I write a cappella, right? And I layer my music. I create almost like a kaleidoscope of different colors, with my music. I think I've learned that from my graphic design days.
Okay, that's your artistry kicking in.
Yeah,
so
I've learned that. So already because of that, it lends itself very well to orchestras and stuff. I mean, my dream was to have a 100-piece orchestra, but
I mean, we've
Hopefully in the
seen
future.
we've seen orchestras being led by an Italian, you know, an English speaking, and then when I heard you and
No one was
Mtwakazi on
leading our orchestra. Did you
Inkwekwezi,
see that? We didn't have a person leading the
yeah,
orchestra.
but then you were the one leading. That's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. So it was your voice and the command, and everybody seemed to sing, and it was very diverse. The outfit.
Yeah.
So it was remarkable. Now we're gonna say you've been outspoken in terms of social and political issues in South Africa, and some of the issues that you've tackled were HIV. You also did something with education. Can you tell us about the HIV first? How you've been using your fame
Well,
to address the issue?
that I think what you're referring to is there was a time when they were testing a certain drug, a certain gel for women, in SA,
Right.
and we were just concerned, what it meant, how people could misuse it, and end up getting more, end up having more people getting infected.
Infected, right.
Because it was test trials, and I believe that, there were some cases, so it was just a concern, and we wanted to know the whole procedure, and how safe it was, and why those specific women were chosen.
Right.
Yeah, and then when it comes to education, I'm very, very passionate about education.
Yeah, because what you did on that was a tour, what you called a Black Culture Education Tour.
Yes.
Yeah, how did you conduct that?
Well, I'm very passionate about education because I know that I wouldn't be where I am today had I not gotten a semblance of a good education. I mean, I was that little girl barefoot, in the countryside, running after cars because we hardly ever see cars.
Right.
I was so far away from being in a space where I can exercise my biggest potential.
Right.
And I know what big a role education played. Education for me is the greatest equalizer. So in a way, I wanted to give back, to the same community that helped me to be one of those who managed to escape poverty through education, and to see which other children I could help pull along with me.
Right.
On that journey, and so we went. The first phase of it was to go and on a fact-finding mission.
Right.
Because so many times, people talk down on others. You've got this top-down approach of information. Where most times those at the top, because they don't live, the existence of those at the bottom.
Right.
They don't really know what goes on. So even the solutions that they prescribe
And not
don't really
fit
fit.
for those at the bottom.
Much like sometimes how aid works as well.
Right.
So we went on a fact-finding mission to go there and look for ourselves, and have the people speak for themselves, what the issues were, and we did that. We visited about 18 schools in 5 different provinces, and now the challenge is to bring all of that information back to the citizens of our country, and to say, look, these are what the people are saying on the ground. So what are the solutions then,
Right.
when you see what they say the problems are?
Okay. Now you are from the Transkei.
Yes.
Transkei.
Transkei. The former Transkei is now called the Eastern Cape.
Okay. And that's where Madiba comes from.
Yes,
And your
Madiba is
closer.
my grandfather.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
I'm joking.
Are you
I'm
related
joking.
to Madiba?
No, I'm not related at all.
Okay, obviously Madiba is not feeling well at this point, and
Yes.
the man is going to be 95
Yes.
next week on the 18th.
Yes.
What does he mean to you? What does his legacy mean to you?
Well, Madiba is a father of our nation as we know it.
Right.
I've been saying this past few days because I've been thinking about it a lot, that we are actually living Madiba's dream. What we have done with it, it is up to us to account for.
Right, right.
But this is Madiba's dream that we are living in. as people of South Africa, you know, and everything that is happening in the country has to be looked at with that as a background. You know, since 1994, we've been living that dream. You know, has it been working for us?
It's been 18 years.
Yes.
Well, 18, 19?
It's actually 19 years.
19
it's going to be
years.
20 years next year.
And like you say, you're living Madiba's dreams. Have everything that he dreamt come together, or some of it is still questionable?
No,
or
that's the question. That's the big
that's the
question.
question.
You know, what have we done with Madiba's dream?
Okay.
You know, have we
Is there
held it like have we been responsible with the dream? Have we been honest? You know, in articulating the dream, you know, and in trying to bring that dream into reality,
right?
you know?
So
Or have we corrupted Madiba's dream?
What sectors do you think need to be improved to cherish that dream, to keep it moving?
For me, I think there was a dishonesty, you know, in intention.
Right.
You know, I really honestly, and I'm not trying to be divisive, I really honestly believe that my people came to the table and said, let's make this work. We will forgive, and we will try and move hand in hand into
Together.
this glorious rainbow future of ours. You know,
Right.
I really honestly think that. But I don't think you know. I think black did. I don't think white did. Not to say that everyone who's white in my country did not react honestly to Madiba's dream, but I think there was enough in business. Like there was just a lot of dishonesty. You know, that now is creating such big problems. I mean, besides the corruption, I will make you a perfect example, for instance. You hear a whole lot about corruption, you know, if you live in SA, corrupt government this, you know, that most of us have become anti-government,
Right.
you know. But what you don't get to hear is white crime. It is so suppressed that we almost believe that there's hardly any white crime.
Right.
I will give you a perfect example. Now, like in my country, they're investigating the president building a huge household for himself.
At his home state.
Yes.
In Kandla.
You know, even a road leading up to, I think, even a private clinic and
Right to his rural home.
in his home. You know, and it's
Right.
a lot of money, and we have every reason to complain about it. I mean, 203 million is 203 million, yes, I think, is about $20 million US. You know, to us that's a lot of money, right? But now we have another scandal in the country, that of 50 billion, that has not been making the headlines in my country, and now it involves construction companies that are white owned, but you don't get to hear it making headlines. And you're like, if you compare 20 million to how much would that be? 500
Right.
million US dollars.
Right.
20 million. Now, if I have to transfer it so that our audiences here understand, and to see how this one is being given prominence over the other, like you start to wonder, So now, because of those kinds of things, you see that there's a lot of unhappiness.
Right.
Poverty is rising. There's all of these issues that we thought would have been addressed. Slowly. And yes, we keep blaming corruption, but there's so many other factors that we are not being, our attention is not being,
focused on.
Yes, not necessarily focused on, but being led to, as much as we are being made to focus on corruption. There's so much else that could be fixed, yeah.
Anyway, so thank you very much for joining us today. I know that Madiba, wherever he is, you have his spirit. Would you like to share with our audience just one little number, special number just for Madiba, please?
Okay. Apho khona londa wokuyo diyathemba uyinkyambo ndibona wena ezinkwenkwezini diyathemba Uyinkwenkwezi, uyinkwenkwezi, kaje bumnyameni, ubumnyama bungaka, kati uwedwa. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That was Simphiwe Dana, who's actually on a tour of the United States. Tomorrow, in fact, on Saturday, she'll be performing at the Red Rooster in Harlem. So catch her. She's going to do 2 sets, 7:30 and one at 10:30. So stay tuned. We got more programming. Thank you.